Hello and welcome to another Mr. Carter Science Special. In this video we'll be comparing two chemical reactions, photosynthesis and respiration. So, as always, keep your eye out for the specification links to the syllabus so that you can follow along with your learning. So what are photosynthesis and respiration? Well, both of them are chemical reactions that happen inside living cells. Photosynthesis will only occur inside green plant cells which have chloroplasts to absorb the light energy, and respiration will occur inside all living cells. In particular, plant and animal cells, respiration will occur in the mitochondria. And in both cases, we have the chemical reactions in front of us. So in respiration, we're taking glucose and we're joining it and combining it with some oxygen, and we break the glucose molecule apart to produce carbon dioxide and water, and we get a release of energy. And energy is released in the form of ATP, and it's used by the cell for various different processes. Whereas in photosynthesis, we have the exact opposite. In photosynthesis, we are taking in energy in the form of light, which is absorbed by a chlorophyll molecule. And that light energy is used to combine the carbon dioxide and the water molecules together to produce the glucose molecule, which is a store of that chemical energy. And there is some oxygen produced as well, although for most plant cells, the oxygen is regarded as a waste byproduct. So when do these two chemical reactions occur in plant cells, and in particular in leaf cells? Well, have a think about this gap fill for a moment, pause the video, see if you can fill in the gaps, and then I'll give you the answers in a moment. So during the day, plant cells carry out both photosynthesis and respiration. We do both of them. Some of the glucose and oxygen produced in photosynthesis are used in respiration, but the plant does more, and that's key, more photosynthesis than respiration. So it takes in more carbon dioxide and gives out more oxygen. But at night, there's no light, so only respiration takes place. And respiration releases carbon dioxide, so the plant will give out more carbon dioxide than oxygen at night, and that's the key. Now, in an exam, you might often come across an exam question like this, where we have a range of test tubes, in this case A, B, C, D, and a control test tube, and each test tube has slightly different conditions. So in test tube A, there is a light-proof cover, so there's no light getting in. There is some pondweed and a small little snail that you can see there. In test tube B, C and D, the light can get in. In test tube B, there is some pondweed, a plant, but there's no snail. In test tube C, there is pondweed and a snail, and in test tube D, there is only the snail. Test tube C is at the control, so there's only water, and in all 5 test tubes, hydrocarbonate indicator. And it's used to show the changes in concentration of carbon dioxide in the solution. So if our hydrogen carbonate indicator turns red, then this tells us that we've got a normal level of carbon dioxide dissolved as you would have in distilled water. If the indicator turns purple, then that water is losing carbon dioxide. And if the indicator goes yellow, then the water is gaining carbon dioxide. So a student sets up this experiment and leaves it for 2 days. What I would like you to do is pause the video and have a little think, what colour is the hydrogen carbonate indicator going to turn in each of the 5 test tubes? And try and explain your answer. Why? If you're struggling on this, in the next couple of slides, I'm going to show a gap fill. I won't talk, I will just move on to the next slide so that you can then pause and try and fill in the gaps to understand what's going on in each test tube. And then I'll come back on and I'll show you the answers in a moment. So let's have a think then. What is happening in test tube A? Well, in test tube A, there are both animals and plants respiring. However, there is no light, so there's no photosynthesis going on. So that means there is more respiration than photosynthesis, and respiration releases and produces carbon dioxide. So there's more carbon dioxide produced, and that will turn the indicator yellow. In test tube B, there are no animals at all. There is light, and so there's photosynthesis, and the plant will photosynthesize more than it will respire. Remember, the plant is both photosynthesizing and respiring, but when there's plenty of light around, because the plant doesn't move a lot, it doesn't have a very high respiratory need, then the plant will photosynthesize a lot more than it will respire. And that means that it's going to make a lot more carbon dioxide, and therefore it's going to not make more carbon dioxide, it's going to take in more carbon dioxide. It's going to absorb more carbon dioxide from the air and use that carbon dioxide in photosynthesis to produce glucose. So there's less carbon dioxide in the test tube, and that means that the indicator is going to turn purple. In test tube C, there are both animals and plants respiring, and there is light, so there is photosynthesis. But both respiration and photosynthesis are carried out at the same rate in this case. And that's because the snail is going to be respiring a lot more than the plant, but it's going to balance with the amount of photosynthesis taking place. They're going to be equal. So respiration and photosynthesis will be equal, so the carbon dioxide produced by respiration will be equal to the amount of carbon dioxide absorbed by photosynthesis. So the concentration of carbon dioxide in the test tube will remain the same, and therefore the indicator remains red. In test tube D, there's no plants, only animals respiring, so there is no photosynthesis. So clearly there is more respiration than photosynthesis, so more carbon dioxide is released and produced, which turns the indicator yellow. And in the control test tube, there's no plants or animals at all. So there's no respiration, there's no photosynthesis, so the carbon dioxide concentration stays the same and the indicator remains red. However, the control is a very important test tube, and the reason for this is that it acts as a reference. The other test tubes are compared to the control, and the control proves that the indicator does not change colour on its own. So the colour changes seen in the other test tubes are due to the changes that we've made, are due to the factors that we have altered in each of the test tubes, whether we've got plants or snails, whether we have light present or not present, the different independent variables that we put in place in this investigation. So controls are very, very important to act as a reference and allow comparisons to take place. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video comparing photosynthesis and respiration. I hope you've learned something. Perhaps comment in the comments below with something that you've learned. Please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much for your time.